Hello, what's going on, guys? So, let's see. I'm just making sure everything's set up. So, today I'm just going to do a little bit more practice with. Um, we're going to do a little bit more practice with what we did yesterday. Same kind of stuff. It's just solving rational inequalities. I wrote down the steps and I'm going to go through them with you again. Yeah, Shannon, that song is it's gonna get stuck in your head, isn't it? Um, how you doing, Ella? Hey, Tabitha, how you guys doing today? Um, Hold on one second. Javon's having trouble getting in, so I'm trying to message him on Remind right now. All right, Ella, you gonna tell me you just woke up? So my game plan, I just want to do two problems with you guys today. It's gonna be similar. It's very similar to what we just did. Try the website. All right. Now I got Javon taken care of for right now. So once you guys are in, I'm going to zoom in on these three steps because these three steps are what we did yesterday. So I'm going to break them down off to the side just like yesterday, but now you can actually have like a visual of the step-by-step process. Yeah, my sleep schedule with a puppy, oh, it all changes. It all changes. Like 12 o'clock this afternoon. You guys are all nuts. I'm just waiting a little bit to see if a few more people are joining in before I start doing this. So I put down in the remind, if you guys didn't read it, that I just made up two problems. So, excuse me, the two problems that I have right here that I'm going to be going over with you guys, I made up. You could just put it on a blank page in Notability. If you just want to write on a piece of paper, you can if you want to follow through. And then there's going to be two questions that I made up that will be considered the homework, which I'll create a Shobi that you guys can turn in. Again, it's only two questions. I'm not going to give you guys anything crazy. Okay? It's going to be set up just like the ones we're about to do, and it's going to be set up with these same steps. So it looks like the viewer count's going up a little bit. So this is the problem that I'm going to start off with. I made this up. Write it down if you haven't already done so. X squared minus 9 over x plus 5 is less than 0. So Cuomo's speech didn't really say much. I thought it was going to say more, and it didn't. So we're kind of still lost, to say the least. So we don't really know, other than we're still closed until the 29th, and that's about it. I thought he was going to say more with it, but he didn't. All right. So we have x squared minus 9 over x plus 5 is less than 0. So the very first step, it says find all critical values. So I put in parentheses the x's that do and do not work. So yesterday I had you guys split this up into two pieces. The side that does work and the side that doesn't work. So there's going to be two different pieces. Now, as far as the part that does work, we're not allowed to solve those unless we change it to an equal sign. So the side that does work, we're just going to set the original problem equal to 0. And then if you have a fraction equal to a number, what we said is we have to make both of them fractions in order to solve it. So I'm just going to take that 0 and put it over 1. And you guys know how to solve something like this, because a fraction equals to a fraction means that we can just cross multiply. So I'm just going to do, I don't want to use pink because I'm using that for the other part. And I can't use green. What colors have I not used? I'll use orange. So I'm going to cross multiply x squared minus 9. And then I'm going to use this dark purple, x plus 5 times 0. So if you guys multiply that out, well, x squared minus 9 times 1 is going to stay the same. And x plus 5 times 0 is just going to be 0. Well, now that we have that, all we have to do now is factor it. And you guys can factor x squared minus 9 using dots. You could split it up into your two bubbles, and you're going to have an x and an x, a 3 and a 3, and then you're going to have plus and minus. And now you can t-chart it, and you'll get your two answers. And we found the two answers that does work for this problem. X equals -3 and x equals +3. We also want to do the other side, and we want to do the side that does not work. So if you're doing the side that doesn't work, yo, I don't know who Nani is, but hi. We want to do the side that doesn't work. So if we're doing the side that doesn't work, we said when we have fractions, the part of the fraction that doesn't work is always going to be the denominator. So if we look at the denominator here, we have that x plus 5. And we're just setting it equal to 0, because we said if we put 0 on the bottom, remember that becomes undefined. Well, now we can solve it, and x is going to equal -5, and that is not allowed to happen, because if you were to plug -5 into this denominator, -5 plus 5 is 0. So this cannot happen. So what we just did is we found all the critical values. This is all, I don't want to use that one. I want to use the pink. All of this is step 1. That was all the pink part up there. Okay? Yes, Cuomo did say the worst is over. Sorry, I didn't want to say it in the middle of the problem. But there's, as far as the educational portion of it, I'm not sure when we go back. I think he's trying to get us to go back in June still. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. All right, so now we go to the second part. So if I go to the second part, it says that we have to create a number line. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create my number line, and I'm going to put all of my answers and non-answers on here. Yeah, I can zoom out. So I'm going to put all my answers and non-answers on here. So one answer was -5. And I always put it in order because it's a number line. The next answer is -3. And the last answer is +3. And once you get those three numbers down, you just have to determine if you're checking for open and closed circles. Well, if we look at -5, -5 was the part that does not work. If it doesn't work, we said yesterday that that will always be an open circle. If you look at the other ones, those ones did work. So what you have to do is you have to go back and check the original inequality. So if we check that original inequality, there is no equal sign here. So those answers are actually also going to be open. So if the line was there, the -3 and 3 would have been closed, but because the equal sign's not there, they have to be open. So all three are open. We are now done with step 2. The last part we have to do now is use a test point to find the direction of the solution. So I'm on step 3 now. If it checks, this is where we make the lines go in. If it doesn't check, the lines go out. But this one's kind of weird because there's 3 dots. There's 3 open circles. So my suggestion, as I said yesterday, is always pick a test point that's easiest for you. So the easiest number that I can see here is picking the number 0, because 0 falls in between -3 and 3. So we're just going to check to see if 0 works or not by plugging it in to the original inequality. So now we can do it right on the calculator. You can do it by hand. I'm going to write it out. So I have 0 squared. I'm substituting it in, so I should be putting in a parenthesis. All over 0 plus 5 is less than 0. Now I'm just checking it. And if I check that, it's going to come out to be -9 over 5. And -9 over 5 is less than 0, so that works. So this checks. Because it checks, that means we know between -3 and 3, they're going to have to connect because it checked. Now, I can't connect these dots over here because I didn't pick a number in between -5 and -3. We only chose 0, so we can only look between these two numbers. So the last part I said yesterday was after you find your test point, the way these work is the lines are always going to be every other alternating solutions. So if we have a line right there at -3 and 3, that means we cannot have an answer over here and we can't have an answer over here because it always alternates. So we know one answer is between -3 and 3. That means there's only one other spot for a solution, and it's over here at the -5. It's going to have to be smaller than -5. So now I just have to write those answers in math notation. So I'm going to have two solutions to this problem. The first solution is saying that all the numbers, that line is going off to the left. So all the numbers are going to be smaller than -5. So I'm just going to write down x is less than -5. Because it's an open circle, we don't have to put a line under it. So we're good to go. The other solution is over here between the -3 and 3. So we know all the solutions are going to be between -3 and 3. So I'm just going to write down -3 is less than x, which is less than 3. And then we're just checking to see if there's any equal signs that we have to put in. Since both the circles were open, no equal signs are necessary. We're done. So one answer can be x is less than -5, or we can say that the solution is between -3 and +3. So in this case, that would be our two solutions. Again, I'll zoom out a little bit just so you guys can see the whole thing, because I know you guys are copying everything down today. So in my opinion, the hardest part about all these were doing the graphing, doing the lines. The alternating of lines is how it's always going to be when you solve these problems. So if you guys understand the alternating, you should be all right. If you're a little confused with that, I'll go through it again on the next one and we'll see how you guys feel. Okay. Anybody have questions with that? I'm just going to do one more problem and then I'm going to give you guys the homework problems so you guys can try 2 on your own. And then I'll create the show bee for you guys to turn that in. So as you guys are waiting, there's that problem. You can write that one down. What I'll do, I'm going to zoom out for a second. I'm going to take all these steps. I'm going to move it down here as well so we could just do all the steps all over again. So if you want to jump ahead of me and you want to go with it, go for it. If you want to do it with me, you can go right along with me and that's fine. Okay. So same exact thing. I have to look for critical values. Critical values are the values that do work and the ones that do not work. So I'm just going to write down does work, doesn't work. I'm going to do the same thing. It's all the same steps on repeat. So as far as the ones that do work, in order to find those solutions, you cannot solve it unless it's an equation. So I'm just going to rewrite it. So it says x plus 6 all over x squared plus 6x plus 8. And I'm just going to make it equal to 0 now. I'm running out of room. Let me move this over. There we go. So when we go to solve for this one, again, they both have to be fractions. So I'm just going to put the 0 over 1. And then I'm cross multiplying. So I got x plus 6 times 1. And what's nice about the problems that I'm giving you guys right now is because it's equal to 0, it's just canceling out. So really, it's going to be x plus 6 times 1, which is just x plus 6, equals, well, x squared plus 6x plus 8 times 0 is really just 0. So I can put it as 0. So this one's an easy one to solve because we can just subtract the 6 over, and we found our solution that does work. We said in order to find the ones that don't work, that's when we're checking to see when the denominator is equal to 0. So I'm just going to take that x squared plus 6x plus 8 and set it equal to 0 because that is what's going to make the function undefined. We can't have 0 in the bottom. Well, this we just have to factor out. The only thing we can multiply to get to 8 that will add up to be 6 is by using 4 and 2. So I have x plus 4 and I have x plus 2. So we're going to get two solutions here. So we have x is equal to a negative 4 and we have x is equal to a negative 2. And you just got to remember these are the ones that don't work. So if they don't work, we have to make sure that we're putting the line through it. That's not allowed to happen. Okay. So everything I just did right there was step 1. That's finding all the critical values. We found one answer that did work, two answers that don't. So now we're just going to take all those solutions and we're going to put them on a number line. And just make sure you're putting them in order. So out of those three numbers, the smallest one is going to be at negative 6. Then we have negative 4 and we have negative 2. So now I got to check to see what are open and what are closed. The easiest ones are the ones that don't work because if they don't work, that means they cannot be equal to. So I know negative 4 and negative 2 are going to have to be open circles. Negative 6, because that was equal to, we have to go back to the original and check. And there is an equal sign here. So at negative 6, we know it's closed. So again, if there's any questions looking for opening or closed circles, don't be afraid to ask, but you're always checking based on if it does work or doesn't work to determine that. And then part 3 says use a test point to find the direction of the solutions. So we just have to figure out which way it's going. So this one, we can't use a test point as 0 because 0 does not fall in between any of our numbers. You always want to pick a number that's somewhere in the middle. So it looks like the only two nice numbers that we can use is either negative 5 or negative 3. And it doesn't matter which one you pick because it will help you determine the answer either way. I'm going to choose a test point of negative 5 just because I think 5s work a little bit nicer. So I'm just going to check it by plugging it into the original function. So I have negative 5 plus 6 all over negative 5 squared plus 6 times negative 5 plus 8. My awful straight line. And we have to check to see if that's greater than or equal to 0. Zooming out. I'm frozen. I'm trying. It's just Notability that freezes up. That's really annoying. So I'm just going to type it all in. I got my fraction. I have -5 plus 6 all over -5 squared plus 6 times -5 plus 8. This says I get an answer of 0.3 repeating, which if I change into a fraction, comes out to be 1/3. So the question is 1/3 bigger than or equal to 0? And yes it is. So I know that the lines have to be connected. So since it worked, I know it has to be connected. Okay. Now that you get that answer, your answers always alternate when you're drawing your lines. So if that middle worked, that means the outsides did not work. So we can't have an answer there. So it's every other spot. So if it worked here, skip the next 2 dots, and we're going to go to the final spot. That means we're going to have one more answer off this way. Okay. Now that always, like I said, that's usually the most confusing part, is when you're looking for those solutions. And it's kind of hard to tell if you guys are understanding that, because obviously I'm on Twitch. I can't see your faces, can't see your reactions. So I'm hoping you guys feel okay with that. So I'm just going to move the little test point off to the side for now. And now all I have to do is write the solutions in math notation. So the first one says that we have -6 all the way up to -4. And it's all the answers in between. So I have -6 all the way up to -4. In this one, -6 is closed, so we know that's got to be equal to. And we still have one more answer, and it's over at that -2. All the answers are bigger than -2. So we also have x is greater than -2. And since it's open, no equal sign. So that means we have 2 separate answers. We have -6 is less than or equal to x, which is less than -4. Or we have x is greater than -2. I hope that helps, Shannon. I actually did that for you because you mentioned yesterday that you were having trouble following along. So I thought it would be smart to write the steps down. Okay. So those are the only 2 questions I'm doing, and that was actually pretty good today. The lesson was only 21 minutes long because I started a little late. So that being said, I will put the 2 questions that I created for you guys right underneath. It's those 2 homework questions. I will create a Shobi as soon as I end the stream, and you guys can just turn those right in. If you're having trouble reading it, sorry, I wrote it down really sloppy, I guess. So if you have any questions about those, let me know. They're set up just like up top, very, very similar. I will tell you guys, number 1 only is going to have 2 circles. Number 2 is going to have 3 circles. Okay? So get those down. You guys can always come back and watch the video if you're having any trouble. Yeah. I'll just hang out for a second in case if you guys have any questions. Again, the whole Cuomo thing, they really didn't release that much information. They're just trying to keep the schools open, more or less, because if work and jobs start allowing parents to go back, those parents cannot afford daycare if school is closed. So they're trying to make sure when they go to reopen the schools, it will be right around the time that they start reopening the workforce. So I don't necessarily think that's going to happen right away. I think it's going to probably be closer towards the end of May, early June. But we'll just have to wait and see. That's not the school's decision, unfortunately. That comes down to Governor Cuomo. So we'll see what he and the other states discuss, and we'll just kind of go from there. because I'm assuming a lot of you guys are probably sick and tired of listening to all of your teachers try to teach over the computer, because this whole distance learning is a very, very tough concept, especially for people at your age. Okay. Sierra, go ahead and email it to me. Lab, remember I have it set due for 9 o'clock tonight. So try to get it to me by that 9 o'clock. If you're having trouble downloading it or if you need it emailed, let me know. Yeah, Regents. So Shannon, the Regents is only canceled for June. So technically, there's still a Regents in August. As of right now, we're being told that you guys are not forced to take it in August, though. And again, I say that as of right now because I don't have all the answers as far as that goes. So as of right now, Cuomo only canceled the June Regents exams, and that is it, just for this year. Okay. But if you guys don't have any other questions with the math, I'm going to take a quick break. I got to get a drink. My throat is killing me. And I got to go check on the puppy. He's been really sick for the last day or so. He's on some medication, and it has not been sitting well for him. So I'm going to go check on him. Again, email me any questions if you guys have them. Get me those labs when you can. And tomorrow we're going to be starting up unit number 11, lesson 1. I'll have it all uploaded into iTunes later today. All right. Again, if you guys are having trouble with iTunes, let me know. I know some people are still having trouble downloading. I need to know who you are so I can get in touch with the tech office so they can help you fix it. All right. So I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, and I will catch you all later.